protest outside the San Diego International Airport.
He's getting paid $4.50 on average.
About to lose my house because of it.
Would you allow me to go and strike against Uber and Lyft? And they're paying like $1.50 per mile. It's how much money I spent in gas to make $379. My per mile expenses is 8 cents. We're trying to get back at Uber and Lyft in a way that hurts our own income. I'm going to show you guys how much drivers in San Diego have been making over the last few weeks. Hundreds of rideshare drivers protest near San Diego International Airport. More than 100 rideshare drivers fed up with over what they say are low wages and unfair percentage splits protested Tuesday night near the San Diego International Airport. 20 rides and I make $90 in 12 hours. It's horrible, said Juan Rivera, who organized the grassroots effort, alerting other drivers on WhatsApp to meet at 6 p.m. if they wanted to air any concern. I'm going to address that in a second. We're going to keep going and I'll give my thoughts after. When I started, they were taking 20% and we were getting 80%. That is true. I've looked that up. I wasn't driving back then, but that is true. Now they're taking half or more. Also true. It's more like 40, 60 sometimes, but sometimes they take more than that. The drivers who protested say they used to make about $400 a day. Now some argue they make $150 for a 12-hour day after paying up to fill up his gas tank. Driver Iad said it ends up being 90 for the day. Let's do some quick math here. He said 150 over the course of what, 12 hours? That's $12.05, 50 cents, $12.50. And that's not including gas. He says once he pays for gas, that $90 divided by 12 is $7.50. I'm gonna call cap here and we'll get into it. Let's keep going. Uber is now taking 60%. You know what? No, let's watch the video. I think the video is a better way to go about this.
They're upset about their pay, with many of them saying they're working 12-hour days and still barely making $100. Our Juliet Vara spoke with protesters and also Uber and starts us off at the San Diego International Airport with the details.
Dozens and dozens of drivers protested tonight, all saying they are fed up with low pay, with the cost of living surging, everything from groceries and rent going up. Some are saying they're struggling to make ends meet, and it wasn't always like this.
No $3 trips. We need more, better pay.
I love $3 trips. $3 trips when there are bonuses out are the best trips. That's how I made my money last night. When you can take short trips in a busy area that has bonus zones attached. So last night I had a $15 bonus. I get a $3 ride. That's $18 to go 7 minutes. And then when you're done dropping off that passenger, you're still in that area. They're also really great if you had Rideshare bonuses. Now, taking a $3 trip when you have none of those things, it still feels like a kick in the butt. Even though those trips don't pay like as well overall, when you consider the amount of gas and mileage you're getting for those 3-mile trips, like usually a $3 trip equals out to be more than $1 per hour, which is the gold standard. You're spending way less on gas. It's just that takes a long time for $3 to add up to a lot of money. And then if a passenger tips you just $2 and a $3 tip, it makes it significantly more worth it. It's better than a $2 tip on a $20 ride. There's like hit and misses with it. It depends on the time of day, the strategy. Don't discount $3 rides. You can't just say holistically, oh, I'm not going to take any rides if there's $3. There's a time and place for every type of strategy. If the only tool you have is a hammer, then every problem is going to look like a nail. And we can't do that. It's getting too difficult to make money with rideshare for you to be stuck in archaic strategies.
Dozens of Uber and Lyft drivers in protest at the San Diego International Airport.
I wish everybody can see this.
Emotions high as drivers walked the rideshare parking lot to air frustrations, they say, of low pay and percentage cuts.
20 rides, and I make $90 in 12 hours.
All right. I want to talk about that. 20 rides, what do you say, $90, 20 rides? So we do $90 divided by 20 rides. So this man is saying he makes $4.50 on average per ride.
Juan Rivera launched this grassroots movement Tuesday night, alerting drivers on WhatsApp to meet at 6 o'clock to voice their concerns.
It is very hard. You know, I'm about to lose my house because of it.
This guy says he's about to lose his house because of Uber and Lyft. You know what? I'm gonna go get my wife. I'm gonna ask her a question. Let me change the screen. If I'm a rideshare driver and I'm not making any money, would you allow me to go and strike against Uber and Lyft by boycotting and not driving? And like, we're about to lose our house.
So you're already not making any money.
I'm already not making any money. And we're about to lose our house because of that.
Want me to support?
Yes.
Forward.
To stick it to Uber and Lyft so that someday in the future, fixed driver pay.
No.
Okay.
That wouldn't work for me.
Okay.
I love you though.
I love you too.
Okay.
So I feel bad. I don't like kicking people when they're down. This is kind of what it feels like. But the reality here is you don't lose your house overnight. You don't. There's a series of events that happen that you can see happening before they actually take your house away. You're even allowed to be behind on payments. Let me not make sure I'm not talking up my booty hole. How many missed payments on average before the bank takes your home? A lender won't begin foreclosure until you've missed 4 consecutive mortgage payments. That's 4 months, assuming that your payments are monthly. Timing can vary from lender to lender, as well as on the state of the housing market at the time. Lenders generally prefer to avoid foreclosure because it's costly and time consuming. So here's this guy. He is in between 1 and 4 months behind on his mortgage. And in that time, the solution he has decided on is that regardless of how much he's getting paid, right? If you're getting paid scraps and you're about to lose your home, you need to hustle, right? If that means you got to work 80 hours a week to go and make $2,000 in order to save your home until you find a better solution, you got to hustle. The solution isn't not working. The solution to fixing your home is not working. Like, I understand some of us, we do this to ourselves. We're so vindictive in our soul and our personalities that we're trying to get back at Uber and Lyft in a way that hurts our own income, that hurts our own pockets. It is not that deep. It's bold and brave of people who are trying to be long-term rideshare drivers who are out there, boycotting, getting the message spread. I'm not going to say this stuff is useless, because even though we can't unionize because we're not employees, right? The only people that can become a union are employees. We have seen the effects that like boycotting has done, right? We in New York, they've gotten some pretty massive things happening in their favor for rideshare because of it. I'm not like discounting that. I'm saying you as an individual, if you are not making enough money with Uber and Lyft, right, and you're trying your best and the strategy you're doing just isn't working, and you've literally given it your all and you're still not making money, you need to go and do something else. Plain and simple. You cannot be putting your family at risk, your house at risk for 4 months while you try to figure it out. If you need to go get a day job and then try to do Uber and Lyft at the busy times at night, overnight, that's what you have to do. But again, I hate kicking the man when they're down. Uber and Lyft are part of the problem. We as individuals are the other part of the problem, right? Where this is in San Diego. I'm going to show you guys how much drivers are making in San Diego once we get through this video. I'm going to show you that Uber and Lyft isn't the complete problem. And there's probably things that these people can do to make more money. I suspect the problem is these are the airport drivers. These are the people that wake up, they go to the airport, they only take airport rides, and that is not a great way to make money.
Iyad Al-Sawa says 8 years ago, he took home about $400 after a 12-hour day of driving for Uber.
And that sounds right. That doesn't sound far-fetched, right? I can do that sometimes, but I can't do that every single day. I mean, I could probably do that 4 out of 12 days a week. Can't do it every single day. And I can't have anything go wrong. He said $400 divided by 12, $33 an hour. That's not like crazy. Like, so him saying that that's what he used to make, that sounds right. I'm not knocking him for that. That's probably what he actually used to make for the strategy that he implements. And the problem I'm watching with rideshare drivers, when I became a store manager, they taught us about the different types of employees. And you have what we call an expert, right? It's not a good thing. It sounds like a good thing, but it's not. An expert thinks they know everything. They are the know-it-all of the work group. And because they believe they know it all and that what they do is best, they're not willing to try new strategies. And that's what's happening in rideshare. A lot of these OGs who became successful using one strategy, because they never fine-tuned and kept like adapting their strategy to all these different things that are happening in rideshare, it's causing them to lose money, right? Every single time I drive, I will spend maybe 10 to 20% of my time either trying something new or trying something that didn't work before. Just because something didn't work before doesn't mean it might not work in a future scenario when the landscape has changed. I'm always on the edge of trying these new things. Platinum Plus is came out. I want Platinum Plus to see if it's worth it. Platinum came out, drivers saying that it's not worth it. I find that it is. It gives you extra tools that you don't have access to as a silver driver. You get 2 instances of like stay within an area filter as a silver driver. That's 6 hours. If I want to drive 12 hours, I can't do stay within an area for 12 hours. And if I want to do 18 hours, the only way I can do 18 hours is if I'm a Platinum Plus. Or if I'm a Platinum Plus and I want to do 12 hours, I can go and use a head towards destination filter to get to downtown. So I'm taking rides towards downtown, increasing my hourly rate. And then I can stay within an area filter until it's time to go home. And then when it's time to go home, I can use another head towards destination filter. So it's like, you have to be willing to try new things. You have to be willing to grow your strategy. And I suspect that a lot of people who are complaining, their complaints aren't unwarranted, but in the grand scheme of life of you are here to make money, you need to figure it out, right? And the solution might not bring you totally back up to where you were before the problem arose. But if it gets you higher than here, you should do it. You should 100% do it.
Now it's about $150.
That's before gas. I have to put gas to my car, and gas prices are expensive. So now it's costing, like, I'm end up making about $90 a day.
You see, he's doing out mental math in his head. You know he's not actively tracking his numbers. He's kind of going on the fly. And what I've also seen people do, so when gas in California is expensive. It's expensive. It's the most expensive place for gas. I'm not going to knock that. It hurt. And that is our biggest expense is rideshare drivers. However, what I found that drivers will do, even online, is that they will go out, they'll make money, they'll fill up the gas tank, and they won't empty the gas tank. And like, even though there's still gas left in their tank, they don't calculate it into their suggestion. So when you saw me use my spreadsheet, let me see if I can pull it back up. Let me see me use my spreadsheet here. When I logged my gas at $21.25, before I started driving, I filled up my gas tank. I went out and drove. And then when I got back to the gas station, I filled up my gas tank. So I know $21.25 is how much money I spent in gas to make $379.50. That's less than 10%. But what drivers will do is when they start their shift, they won't fill up their gas tank. So they're already starting with half a tank of gas. They'll drive till it's at the end and they need more gas. They'll fill up. And then once they fill up, they look at how much money they've made and they'll think to themselves, damn, I put $90 in my tank and I've only made that much. But in order to accurately calculate how much money you made off of that gas, you have to drive that whole gas tank down again. And then that's how much money you made with that gas. There is no way. Like this guy's numbers, they're coming out to like less than $10 an hour in San Diego. And if it was a smaller town, I might say, okay, that might be possible. That might be true. But I know how much drivers in San Diego are making, and I'm going to show you. But let's get through this video first.
They was taking 20% and we was getting 80%.
That's true.
But now it's like they're taking like half or probably more than half.
Sometimes, they'll charge $60 downtown and pay you $13.
Drivers say they feel they have no voice, and the only way to get heard for now is to come together like this.
I don't think it's fair that we're breaking our heads off between 12 to 14 hours a day to make nothing.
In a statement, Uber says earnings for drivers in San Diego are more than $30 an hour for time spent actively working on the platform, including tips and promotions. Drivers also receive fare and destination information up front before they accept a trip and are fully empowered to decide what trips are worth their time.
I think upfront pay was one of the worst things that can happen to drivers. So for starters, I do think upfront pay was used as an excuse to pay us less, right? We used to get rate cards, for those of you who are new, told us exactly how much were made per mile. I'll pull one up, right? I'll pull one up. Lyft rate card, Charleston. They still have it up on their website. I'll try to zoom in here, right? So it shows you what the base fare is, the cancellation penalty, the cost per mile. Used to be, this is old. This is before I started driving Lyft in Charleston, because it was never 98 cents. When I started, it was like around 80 cents or something like that. Cost per mile, 98 cents. Cost per minute, 17 cents. Maximum fare, $400. I think it's $300 now. Might be $400. I don't know. Minimum fare is $412. Now it's $3. So we can see that it's gone down. Scheduled ride cancel penalty, $10. Never seen that before. Scheduled ride minimum fare, $10. Never again. You can look at the scheduled rides right now and see that there's some for $3. Like this is what it used to be, and it's not this anymore. You can take an upfront fare and you can see that it's not this anymore. So yes, it was an excuse to lower driver pay. However, that's not why I think it was the worst thing to happen to drivers. I think that because drivers don't treat rideshare as like a business, right? They use their feelings instead of like facts and numbers to make decisions. When they see a ride, they're not able to accurately determine if that ride is worth it, and then they end up declining a bunch of rides and not getting any rides for a while and not making any money, which is what I kind of suspect might be happening here. Like, I watched a YouTube video. I'm not gonna even give this guy a shout out. He doesn't have a lot of subscribers and he's kind of full of shit. Like he's here like just clowning on drivers, saying, yo, you shouldn't be taking rides if it's less than $1 per mile, which I don't agree with fully, but I understand. So then he goes on his Uber, he turns his Uber app on while he's screen recording, and he's just like, the rides are popping up and he's calling them shit rides. They're bad rides, only idiots take these rides. So I watched 7 minutes of his video and I have my calculator out and I'm calculating how much per mile these trips are. And even though the lower paying rides, we're talking about like $4 or $5 rides, I do the math and they're paying like $1.50 per mile. You're declining these rides. You just said at the beginning of the video, the only rides you're going to take are rides that are over $1 per mile. And then those rides pop up, but something in you, some like vindictive like reasoning comes up in you that makes you disregard your own like standards and call them shit rides and then clown on drivers for wanting to do that. And then a bunch of drivers, like, they watch that, they see that it goes around on Uber, this is a bad ride, when it's not that bad of a ride. It's causing drivers who don't know what a good ride actually looks like and what's actually worth their time, because they're not tracking their expenses. They don't know how much their expenses are per mile. Like I showed you here. And of course, this isn't the full story, and you won't see the full story until the end of the month when all my expenses are in here. But you can see that my per mile expenses is 8 cents for last night. 8 cents. I made $1.33 per mile. My expenses is cents, right? I think that if you get a ride in that's like 80 cents per mile and your expenses are 8 cents, you'll be okay. I'm getting riled up. You guys need to create a plan to get out of rideshare. And every dollar you make gets you further away from that. And if your expenses are so high, then you need to reconsider your expenses. Reconsider what car you're buying. Reconsider what you're spending your money on. There's so much bad information out there. So I'm going to show you guys how much drivers in San Diego have been making over the last few weeks. This is from my city, right? It's for Charleston. Shows you the average Uber drivers are making per hour, $23 an hour. Lyft, $18 an hour, which is really bad because you guys see that I crush it on Lyft. DoorDash, Spark. Spark's been up because whenever there's no traffic in town, grocery services are pretty good. But it's hard to get into Spark. I'm a part of Spark. I just prefer delivering people. And Spark's a little misleading on their hourly. That's not what we're here for. At the top, there's something called Leaderboard. Go to Leaderboard. This is for Jan 1st to Jan 7th. So today is the first day of that. Just started. I'm already ranked second in my city at $257. I'm behind number one at like $10, $11. And it shows you all the other drivers are making in your city. What you can also do is you can switch it. And we're going to go down to San Diego. You can scroll here for a while. It's in alphabetical order. If you want this, you can, it's in the description. It's usually in the description of all my videos. So if you don't get it today and you want to get it later, you can. So San Diego, and this is for this week, of course, we kind of just started working. But you can already see the top driver in San Diego has already made more money than I have. The second driver has already made more money than I have. I'd be third if I was in San Diego. Here's where this really gets powerful. You can go back in time. So last week, from December 25th to 31st, which includes Christmas, I didn't drive, $0. San Diego driver, $1,683, $1,557, $1,369. Not that great. It's holiday time. It is not that great, but it's not bad either. We go back a week, $1,641, $1,437, $1,416, $1,377, $1,234, $1,200, $1,200. If you make this over the course of 4 weeks, I think you can afford to pay your mortgage. If you're not driving an expensive car, you don't have a high car note, and you keep your debts low, I think you can pay your mortgage. California does have high mortgages, so I will say that. They do have high mortgages. Bring out the calculator, right? Did I close it? I should have done that. Okay, so here's the calculator. We won't even use like this as the example. We'll use this guy, like 12. Let's use 1,200 as the example. So 1,200 times 4 weeks, $48,000. Times 12 months. And this is a slow period. Everyone kind of agrees that December is a slow period unless you live somewhere where it snows, and to say San Diego is not somewhere where it snows. So we're talking about $57,000. That's like the median household. And when you calculate the median household, you're calculating married couples who make 2 incomes. So you're making as much money as 2 people usually make in America. Yes, you have expenses. Yes, you have other things that are happening, but I think you can pay your mortgage. I don't think this is San Diego, this is real numbers being pulled directly from other drivers. This is not made up. This is people who have these, and this is only people who have this app. If you don't have this app on your phone, your income's not showing up here. The top drivers might not even have this app. So like, it's not a whole picture. It's not a complete picture, but it gives you an idea of like what's really happening in your market. And if you can't pay your mortgage and you're not in the top like 10, yes, Uber and Lyft can suck. Yes, Uber and Lyft are decreasing pay over time, but there are actionable things that you can do to protect your finances that you're not doing. Let's go back another week. 1,700, 1,600, 1,500, 1,400. Let's go back. It doesn't go back that far. We can also like look at all metros. So we can see every person who has this app. We can look at this guy in Portland, $4,842. There might be like bonuses in there, referral bonuses, new bonus drivers and things like that. That's crazy. Dallas, Texas, Naples, Florida, Los Angeles. I don't know how far that is from San Diego. I don't even, if I'm struggling, I will drive a couple hours to go somewhere where I'm no longer struggling to make more money. They could have restrictions on people driving city to city. I don't know how it works over there. California is weird. $2,371. Austin, Texas, $2,357. Spokane, Washington. Boston. A lot of people in Boston saying they're making less than $15 an hour. I saw like an article when they're trying to unionize. Look at this guy, $2,318, $2,212. Chicago, $2,000. San Francisco again. Boston, San Francisco, New York, Las Vegas. People in Vegas complain about the same thing. Charleston is not even up here. And that's my market. My market's a small market. And I can make $3,000 in my market if I want to. If I want to bust my ass and make $3,000 so I don't lose my mortgage, I can do that. If I was in like one of these bigger cities, I'd be crushing it. I'd probably be able to make $4,000. I would be crushing it. Absolutely crushing it. Let's go forward a week. Los Angeles, number one, $2,378. New York, $2,000. Seattle, $2,000. San Francisco, $2,000. New York, $2,000. Duluth. They ain't even heard of that place. I don't even know where that is. Like California and New York are consistently on this list, but California drivers are the ones that complain that they're not making enough money. Like I know you have a higher cost of living. I'm from New York. I used to live in New York. I know like high cost of living, it matters, but it matters even more to man, I'm getting so flustered. Honolulu, the people out here making money. I'm trying to be number one. And like one of these weeks, I'm gonna be number one. I'm ranked 66th in the nation right now. I'm gonna be number one. Look at this guy. He's already made $1,365. The week just started today. The week started today. This is more like normal. He probably got like a really good bonus or something like that. But this is more normal, right? Baltimore, 400. Austin, this is day one. These guys are making $400 on day one. If they probably won't be able to maintain 400, but even if they maintain $300, 300 times 7 is what, $2,000, 2,100. Yeah, it's possible. You just gotta hustle, right? If you're losing your house, you just gotta hustle. You can't sit back and strike. You don't have time to strike. You're literally too poor to strike, right? I'm nothing against people that can afford to strike, but like you can't ruin your life trying to be vindictive to Uber and Lyft. Just can't. It's just not great. And he's been doing Rideshare what, 8 years? You need to start. It's time to have an exit plan. I'm working on my exit plan. Everyone should have an exit plan, right? If you want to do this for the rest of your life, I don't think you should. They made it clear that they want to like replace drivers with self-driving cars. A lot of people are in doubt, saying that like it's gonna be a long time before that happens. But why are you gonna wait for that to happen? You need to come up with an exit plan. Have an exit plan, right? You want to be a driver until that happens. Start paying off your debt. Start saving up some money. Start going to school. Things that you can do while you're still an Uber driver. And then whenever it happens, you have that backup in your back pocket. Don't wait. Right? Don't wait till you get deactivated. You need to start thinking about these things now. Think about what you want to step into and use Uber and Lyft to step into that. Man, Lyft and Uber need to realize if we only stop the country, we'll have a problem. That's true. And I was talking to some drivers. They always talk about like striking for like, in a couple of hours or like, a day or something. Like turn your apps off on Valentine's. It's supposed to be a strike on Valentine's Day. It's not enough. If I'm currently working on a video, I have like half the script written where I'm comparing the actors and writers strike that happened last year to like what we do. The actors and writers literally gave up pay for like, I think it was like about 6 months, 4 months, maybe some number between 4 and 6 months. They gave up their pay. They did nothing. They said, listen, if you don't increase our pay, give us better benefits and give us like royalties for streaming services, we're not going to do anything. And they got what they wanted because they were willing to hold out. Now that's going to be harder for rideshare drivers because one, when you're a rideshare driver, you typically don't pick to be one. Let's be real. It's usually a transition period, something you fall into, something you plan on doing, and you fall into it because you're not doing well financially, right? It's what it is, right? It was the truth. It's the truth for me. I used it. It's not that I wasn't doing well. I purposely decreased my income. I went from becoming a district manager. I said, all right, let me lower my bills, live on less than I make in order so I can try to go to school. And then I ended up here on YouTube somehow. But people who are like in rideshare, they can't afford to strike that long. They can't afford to turn their apps off that long. If they want significant change, they will need a widespread boycott that causes regular people every day to be late for work, to miss getting to work, to not have there needs to be outrage, right? There needs to be large scale outrage that causes their stock to tumble. Like, sure, these current boycotts and strikes, things like that, they do great for getting media attention, and that's fine. There are things that happen because of that. That's good. Keep it up. But if you truly want to make an impact, you have to be able to get people to turn their app off for a long period of time. But that's really hard because we can't unionize. So we can't have any collective bargaining, or we can't say, all right, our union says we can't work, then we don't work, right? Even with certain unions, their union dues, what it goes towards is like strike pay, right? If you guys go on strike, we will pay a percentage of your wages until we get what we want. That encourages more of that. Rideshare doesn't have that. And so like if people aren't willing, like the driver I was talking to, she was just worried. She's like, nah, we can't strike and like have a negative impact on customers because like that's not who we're trying to get at. And I agree with you, but the customers is like, if customers can't get to work, they're not paying Uber and Lyft are going to feel that. Like that's the only way you can have like a large scale like impact on something. It can't just be for a day, but drivers can't afford that. So